Good morning, gang. Happy Friday morning. Okay, it's in a different location, obviously. I am sitting up in a hotel room in Michigan. We are up here for my high school reunion this weekend. So here we are. The world doesn't stop because I don't know, what do you want to call it, on a vacation, whatever. Uh, Interesting information. And I wanted to share this because this is something that's important for all of us. Many times you guys have heard me say that my views, agree with me or disagree with me, that's fine. I'm much more of an isolationist than most people. Okay. I absolutely disagree with all this foreign aid we send. I really don't care about we need to feed the starving kids in Kenya. I don't care. Okay. I'd rather see us feed the starving kids in Philadelphia. It's really interesting when you start hearing stories about our self-sufficiency as a country. Now, for all of us, it's pretty commonplace. We're striving to be as self-sufficient as we can, growing our own food, raising our own food, producing our own electricity, collecting our own water, and trying to be as off-grid, if you will, as possible, because we don't trust any of the entities that provide us the food, the water, the electricity, whatever, because they all have some sort of ulterior motive besides profit. Okay. I ran across something that was kind of interesting this morning and took a look into it. As a whole, in the United States, we produce about 90% of the food we eat, the food and drink. Okay. It's produced here domestically in the United States, whether it's grown here, raised here, whatever. That's pretty good. Okay. That means as a country, we are pretty self-sufficient. And I've said this many times too. We are the only self-sufficient nation in the world. People disagree with me on there, but we have enough food, we have enough water, we have enough raw materials, we have enough petroleum under our feet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that we can survive if the world goes foobar, which is a good thing. Okay. Gives us a little bit better opportunity when the world inevitably blows up, when we wind up in some sort of financial meltdown or EMP situation, or God forbid, a nuclear war. Okay. And survivability of that is different. Okay. So 90% of the food that we eat is grown, raised, produced here. Good. All right. Some of it's in our backyard. Some of it's the cornfields that I drove through yesterday on the way up here, however it be. And then I ran across a story on Great Britain. Great Britain's been quite a bit in the news here in the last few days with all of the rioting going on and both sides trying to blame the other for causing the tensions, if you will, and the misplaced accusations of who the murderer is, who the protesters are, et cetera, et cetera. I personally really don't care. The guy who did everything was a dirtbag. Okay, I don't care about what his political aspirations are or whatever. You go kill 3 little girls, you deserve to be dragged through the streets by your gonads. But that wasn't the part that this story was interesting. And how many times have you heard me say, watch what happens in Europe, it's coming here? Great Britain used to produce about 60% of their own food. Okay, not nearly as good as the United States, but again, Great Britain is nowhere near the size of the United States, land mass wise, and the climate is totally different, the topography of the country, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, they also don't have the same amount of people. New report comes out. Great Britain produces 32% of its own food. That's something that people need to watch, because as the world takes a turn left, okay, and nobody's going to be able to tell me that Great Britain hasn't made a hard left in their political ideology, and that's how the country's run. You can't tell me that that isn't scary, because now we get into a situation where when we get into these socialistic ideas, equal outcome for everybody, if you're only producing a third of what you need to eat, imagine what that equal outcome is. Instead of having meat, potatoes, and vegetable on your plate tonight, you have one of those. Produce a third of the food, take off two of the items. Because as we go further and further left, France, Germany, Great Britain, obviously leaning way left, we get Kamala Harris trying to drag us way left. The only thing that's going to save her is that we're still self-sufficient enough. Until she gets to the point where she's going to start banning all this stuff. And she said it herself. I'm going to ban offshore drilling. I'm going to ban fracking. I'm going to ban red meat. Really? So you're going to decide, or you think you are, what we're going to do. She's also come out and said, in the first 100 days of her administration, should she be elected, if Congress doesn't adopt a national gun confiscation law, she's going to do it by executive order. Good luck. Again, I've said this many times. They can make all the laws in the world they want. Please explain to me how you're going to enforce those. Really, if you try to do that, try to take away what we have, our food, our fuel, our weaponry, our means to protect ourselves, and then you get the cross, our means to procure food, hunting, yeah, you can do it with a bow and arrow. Some people do. Some people are extremely good at it that way too. Most people use some sort of rifle. So you're saying that you want to take food off of people's table. But then here comes the other part. If you've got food and somebody else doesn't and they're hungry, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to try to take it from you. How are you going to protect yourself? And did they follow the law, or are they coming at you with one of the previously mentioned confiscated weapons? You look at what's happened in these countries. They could feasibly starve themselves out. You only produce a third of your food, you're in trouble. Like I said, thank God we produce 90% of our own food. We can still get it. Until we can't. Until the only thing we're allowed to eat is Bill Gates' bug burgers or some processed crap that a lobbyist has greased the palms of Kamala Harris or any of the other Looney Tune left liberals and says, oh, you need to promote our food. Here's $100,000, right? And if you don't think that's how Washington works, that's exactly how Washington works. I mean, Mrs. P and I were talking about this yesterday on our drive in. 9.5 hours. We had plenty of time to talk. And she's saying, don't you find it funny that, Nevada, where Las Vegas is, Reno is, the huge casinos, and you can't buy a lottery ticket there. All the gambling that's promoted, but you can't buy a lottery ticket. And I said, of course not. I said, because the casino lobbyists don't want the competition. They want all the money for themselves. Does this sound like Washington to you? And so what did they do? They greased the palms of the politicians to say, keep the lottery out of Nevada, here's 100 grand. And I go, oh, okay, cool. We're not going to allow lottery tickets in Nevada. That's how it's going to work with everything else here. He who has the money is going to make the decisions. And because they can pat each other on the back, pat each other's pockets. I want you to do this. Here's money. Okay, I'll do that for you. Every one of our politicians, both parties, you know it, is bought out, bought off. That's why Trump scares them so much, because he can't be bought. Trump doesn't need any more money. Everybody makes a big deal when he goes in and he tips somebody at a fast food restaurant $100. $100 to you and me is a good amount of money. $100 to him is like pulling a quarter out of his pocket. Okay? When you're worth nearly $1 billion, $100 ain't that much. Okay? Makes the waitress or the fast food worker or whatever really happy. To him, it's nothing. The rich and powerful want to stay rich and powerful. They want to be more rich and powerful. They're narcissists, all of them. That's why they stay in Washington forever. They like the power. They are trying to take everything away from us. And in Great Britain, they are quickly succeeding by making it next to impossible for people to raise their own food. And what happens when that comes about? Well, then the government's there to help. And they're going to provide for you. And then all of a sudden you're a serf. That's what socialism is. You can see Europe tipping that way. You can see the United States tipping that way. And there's enough brain-dead people out there who think it's a good thing. Ronald Reagan coined it as a race to the bottom. That's what it is. We'll have equity under socialism. Ask anybody that's ever lived in a socialist country and how well off they were. And send me an email when you have some great success story to tell me about somebody who had a great life under Joseph Stalin or Mao Zedong or Fidel Castro or Pol Pot or Kim Jong-il or his son or anywhere. While I'm off doing fun stuff with my high school friends today, I figure my email box at that request will probably stay pretty empty. Have a good one. Pinball out.